So I realized that I don't currently have a video up on my account right now as like an author introduction. So I used to have one up here, so I wanted to make a new one and just give a brief overview of who I am and what I do, what my books are and everything. So I go by the pseudonym Daze Evander. I've been writing my whole life so far. I love telling stories. I love the adrenaline rush of discovering new universes and meeting new characters and all the life lessons and escapism and entertainment that you can get from fiction. And so I decided in 2015 to write what became the first draft of my debut book, Carriers of Eunoia, which is part one of my trilogy, Eunoia. And the sequel is Echoes, and then Powers is the finale prequel. And so I had a dream, and I woke up and was like, I need to write this down. It was so vivid in my head, the characters, this planet. And I went on a journey with my characters of discovering the mind's power. And so my first book is Carriers. So we have Anon on the front, and then Hippo, the anglerfish, on the back. We have part two. We have Zaika on the front, and then Ghoul the crocodile on the back. Then we got Powers. So we have Amira on the front, and then we have the Cloud Trio on the back. And so my books are very, very character focused. They're also quite emotionally driven, and I would say there's action throughout, but overall, my books are really focused on the rotating points of view of the cast. So each chapter begins with a different character narrating. So we got like Amira right here. So when the chapter starts, you see the character and then they start talking to you, recalling the events through their eyes, sharing their point of view, maybe the stand that they're taking, because a lot of my characters disagree with each other. And so, they are telling you, the audience, what's going on in their mind. And so Eunoia, this word means well-mind, beautiful thinking, and it means the goodwill that a speaker cultivates between them and their audience. I thought it'd be really interesting to write a story that explored that. And as I was discovering the power of my own thoughts, which I didn't know at the time, I went on this really interesting adventure with these characters and creating it. And it challenged me, and also seeing from different perspectives and, managing consistent tones for all these different people in this story, and how their character development and what they've been through. And so I don't want to spoil too much of the plot, but the story is overall about the power of the mind. So what I mean by that is these cast of characters, they're forced to a planet called Eunoia. Eunoia consists of 3 factions, and is greatly focused on elements of nature. And so Eunoia itself is a character, has a consciousness, and interacts and changes the course of the story with the characters as it reacts to what they're doing on the planet itself. So there's a lot going on, but each book builds on the magic system of the universe, and every book since Carriers continues to build on the lore in some way. Even with my spin-off, my new series, I still reference parts of every book before. I continue to keep building on it. So the first one is really focused on what are called the wish carriers. Part 2 gets really focused on the reversal of the teleportation command. And then part 3, this one is really focused on the planet Stone. And so this is the origins of Eunoia. How did this all start? And it was really fitting to put Amira on the front, since she's the first ever speaker from Carriers of Eunoia. And she was my first character that I wrote down. And so it was really special to get to have her on the front finale art. And so the planet Stone is very, very crucial to the lore of the universe and how it all began. And Eunoia itself created and put engravings on a stone that it pushed out from the ground in the Land Dweller faction. And so It engraved on it its truths and its rules that it wanted to have for its own self, its boundaries, pretty much. It began thinking for itself, questioning all who inhabited it and how to get its way. After it spawned, it needed a host who could be a catalyst for uncovering a greater purpose and carrying out fate. And through the very specific color hue that she dyed her hair, Zaika was cursed under its command even before she woke up on the soft grassy hills. There was a sequence of letters and numbers carefully carved into the bottom of a stone that it formed by itself. One day, it was pushed upwards through the ground in the land dwellers' faction so that plants would eventually grow around and cover it, similarly to a skull protecting a brain. It didn't want the representatives to know of its decisions and truths, but it was unable to activate itself if they weren't exposed on its surface. It chose its name, Eunoia, and those who it brought to the hills, the final 6 to eventually compete in the second and final game. For the 6 individuals, there were 6 letters. For their 5 abilities, there were 5 vowels. Similarly to the ridges of a brain, there were words engraved on the stone that outlined the planet's truth. It wasn't pleased. Rage was born and growing at what the representatives were doing to its land. Frustration was created out of their morbid curiosities and experimental approach to life, and it thought about the lives that were also brought by their choosing, not its own. The term wish carriers was coined by the stone as it developed, shaped to describe those who could supersede the rules and torture that Thea, Adavid, and Lorelei created. Those with the ultimate gift carried a wish of unfathomable power to decide what would happen in their life. They would be able to create their reality, ultimately dreaming and manifesting what would unfold next. BB4B89 was written on the bottom of what resembled a cemetery headstone. The color hex began to weave its way into all life forms and energy sources. It infiltrated its forces of nature. It seeped into corrupting the original intended purpose of the space. Just as the waterfalls of substance took over the 3 representatives, the color-coded curse entered the planet's mind, unable to win against its corrupted influence. So that's a preview about what Eunoia is and why it created the stone and everything like that. So there's a lot that happens, lots of lore, and I would say that it all begins with an adventure mystery with carriers. Part 2, this one it's a revenge arc book, and this is where the curse goes into full effect. So it's the most violent and very heavy book. And then Powers, just a lot going on, lots of characters and storylines and the puzzle coming together. And so in the chapter Eunoia Quake, there's a storm, and because Adavan, one of the representatives, he finds the stone in the Land Dweller faction and is going to read it. And Eunoia, in order to protect itself, it ends up creating this storm, and the waves of the ocean come out and they break apart the stone and pull part of it back into the sea. So the stone actually ends up kind of getting scattered around. And so parts of it get revealed as you read the story. So Adavan reads only a part of it, Amira reads a part of it, and Nathaniel reads a part of it. So the characters are all piecing together the stone. And there's actually one part of the stone that none of the characters ever read. It's revealed to the audience. And so it's kind of this big puzzle, it's this big Rubik's Cube, and it's uncovering the power of the mind. And there's a lot of drama, like I'll be honest, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of fighting and characters having problems with each other and projecting onto each other. And, you know, deep down they have some insecurities or trauma or things they went through. And, you know, it's kind of a test of communication. Like everyone can make it home, but only if they work together, only if they can truly face their demons, face what they've been through, or to use their strengths for good, or to use their strengths to work together. But it really depends on the personality and what the character's been through. And, you know, so many factors go into socialization. And so I was just like, you know, it'd be really interesting to explore that, you know, in a fictional story, very driven by emotions, and to bring that to life in a fantasy world that's the whole central theme overall of the trilogy is the power of the mind and mental health. And so, you know, quite a few of the characters, they're, you know, are dealing with anxiety and panic attacks and flashbacks of the past, things they've been through. And so, you know, there's some very heavy subject matters, and it really just opened up my mind and my own perspective on life and cherishing the gift of life and just existing and sharing dreams with one another and working together and overcoming the power of our minds in a way that can harm us, but to find what we love and what we're passionate about and to share it with other people. And truly what encompasses the meaning of the word Eunoia. And, you know, I feel like I've said this so many times, like it's a dream come true, because it literally is, but it's also like, it's a dream come true to be sitting here right now, taking a video and sharing this with the world and telling people about this dream. And I think about my younger self. If I told myself, hey, we did it, like it's out, like the books are out, it's done, and now we get to share this with people, and now there are people who are inspired by this story and just the fact that it's out and that they, you know, they see it and they're like, now I'm inspired to do my own thing, and you know, to see you doing this shows me I can do it too, like that type of inspiration. And to me, it's like that's what so much of the story is about. It's about how do we harness the power of our minds and wield the magic that is within us for dreams, for our existence, and what we're here on this earth to do. And so, you know, as I say, every character in a cast is there for a reason. And if there was just one character missing from this story, it wouldn't be what it ended up being. Because all their different personalities, you know, even the ones that people may be like, I didn't care for that character so-and-so. You know, I think they're like this, or they don't. And some people, you know, some people have different favorite characters, and I've had such a mixed reaction about the characters. I've had someone say like, I love this character, and then someone else says that was their least favorite. So and to me, you know, that was also my goal, was how can I make these characters, you know, believable, and you know, also that parts of them may resonate with others or remind them of someone else, or who knows. But it was all just for storytelling and the enjoyment of it. And I get such an adrenaline rush of when I'm creating and when I'm writing and talking about this and sharing this with people. It's simply fun. Like, it's just, all this is fun. And so yeah, I've, you know, been working on overcoming my social anxiety in order to share this with the world, because I really want to share these characters' journey and what they went through on this planet. In my head, it was like just so much happens, and it's truly been so fun to put myself out there with these books and you know, sharing sharing the story. And so thank you for listening.